I
I
hear
didn't
that.
realize buggy people were so emotional.
Oh, we're
I didn't realize. I knew that like mini skid steer people, when you have an S70, those people get lit. Like mini skid steer people are lit against S70s, and I didn't know buggy people were just as lit. I was like, whoa.
I felt attacked whenever I brought up that maybe buggies weren't the coolest thing around. So, yeah.
I haven't ventured down that, so.
oh shit.
All right, we're live, guys. Awesome. I remember how to work this technology here. Well, let's get started with the traditional sound of the round table rally here. And there we go. Cheers, guys. And thank you for coming back for the I Am a Hardscaper round table rally with me. Once again, I really appreciate your time. We'll see how many people start coming in here. But basically, what I wanted to talk about today was contracts. What you've learned specifically, and I want to start this off by saying none of us are lawyers. None of us will claim here that we have the perfect wording that we're going to say that you should then take and put into your contracts. So just a disclaimer here. This is all about the ideas and sharing of ideas, and then you consulting with a lawyer or a professional to be able to put this into your contracts or do with it as you may. So contracts are the discussion topic here today. And I really want to learn what you've taken from the past and that you've implemented into your contracts, things that you've learned, things you've been burned on, and things that immediately when they happened, you've updated your contract for the next one that's come out. Does anyone here want to kick things off and right away come at us with a something that they've updated their contracts in the past on?
I can take this right away. First thing, most important right now, raw material price increase clause.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
100%, especially if you're working with any wood. It's that's the biggest thing is basically, you quote a job 6-9 months in advance. And then the wood costs 300% what it costs whenever you ordered it or did the quote. You need to be compensated for that. So yeah, that's the biggest one, number one right there.
Yeah, that's huge, especially right now, right? Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to get all my materials ordered like the day that they sign up, right? Like, so I need cost of materials upon signing right away, minimum before anything else.
What does that look like percentage-wise for you, Chad? Like, what are you asking for up front in order to be able to order those materials right away? It's
usually like about a 30% for me. The rest is mostly labor, but I'm happy locking it in at about 30% of the job cost. And I know there's a rule, right, of how much in Ontario you're supposed to be allowed to take from a client or something like that. I don't know it. I'm probably terrible when it comes to knowing exactly what I should be taking from people, but 30% I'm happy with. And if the client doesn't like that, then they're not the client for me.
Gotcha. And then upon, do you have another one upon delivery of materials, or is it mostly just job specific, basically?
For me, it's 30% for the material, then nothing until we're complete. But usually we're pretty good at wrapping up within a week or two. We don't have a whole lot on deck that's more than, for residential anyway, that's more than a week or two job right now.
Gotcha. Anyone else's drawings of payments changed this year because of the situation with material shortages and whatnot?
I never had a drawing system before.
No?
I've never taken a penny up front from anyone in my life until this year. So
I never used to. Like, this is new to me too.
I felt like this year, whatever, maybe the jobs are bigger. Maybe there's we have one job with a whole bunch of custom ordered stuff like pizza ovens and different things. And I was like, I probably should and I mean, everyone else seems to take money. It's not like, and I also felt like maybe we were looking unprofessional and shady because we weren't asking for deposits, maybe it was coming off. Originally I did it because I was like, listen, you're going to pay me. You're going to be happy. I believe in myself. I believe in my people. I don't need any of your money till I'm done. But now I think it's almost reversed to the point where people are like, how shady is this dude? I don't want him doing my $150,000 job. You know, like he doesn't even want any money up front. Like honestly, it got to that point. So this year we put in a different system where we're taking varying amounts of money up front depending on the job. I think the first
I think as your business grows, it becomes a lot more important to keep that steady cash flow running through the business as well. It's sometimes you get trapped in a job and don't have any money to keep going. That's not a good situation to end up in, right?
Yeah, like for me, that's never like I've never taken a job that I couldn't front, and I never do anything with the business that I've never done anything with our business or even the businesses I've had in the past where I couldn't write a personal check for it.
Yeah.
I've never gone and done anything outside this business I couldn't write a personal check for to cover it immediately.
Interesting.
And that controls growth and controls growth at a speed where it's responsible and I can't get myself into too big. Actually, to be like probably the only, like we recently just bought a brand new triaxle. So like it was $10,000 more than our house. So, like that being said, I mean, that's probably the only thing. Everything else almost we always buy unless it's 0%. But like, I agree. Like, it's just nice now that we don't have to put out all that money for all this like custom ordered stuff and it didn't suck out of our cash flow. So I agree with you that,
Right.
that helped us a lot this year.
I was going to ask, do you like it then, Mike? Are you happy? Pennington, you made this change? Are you going to keep going into the future, or is this just a short term?
It's part of our standard policy now. And I think it just looks more professional. I think that everyone else is doing it and it just makes me, I don't know. One time I did it, I guess, because I thought that it would be a good sales thing, but now I think it's actually a deterrent. Part of it too is the jobs are bigger, like you're doing $3,500. Like when we were doing $3,500 jobs, I was like, I don't really need $350 from you, bro. I'm good.
Right.
Like, if I need $350, like I shouldn't be doing your job. But
Right.
like now, we're doing jobs. One of them was like $175,000. So I'm like, yeah, I got a custom order, $50,000 worth of every piece of the job is custom. So it's like, give me the money, and we bought it all. Like everyone was saying, bought it in advance.
Yep.
Anybody else's drawl system change because of the material possible shortages getting worse?
I've just kind of like everybody else's. Mine is based pretty much on the size of the project, and then we've definitely the pavers and wall stuff has not been an issue up until now in our area, but we're having some issues with trucking on stuff that's coming from other places. So I'm basically, if I'm signing something, I'm ordering it right away. So I typically take if it's under like right, I think it's around 25 or 30 where I'm doing 50%, and then we do our larger projects. We do either a fourth or a third. So it kind of depends on the size of the project and what's involved. Like what we're finishing now is, a patio, a deck, some custom things we had ordered coming in. So some of the draws are different. We've had subs come in, making sure they're paid and all that stuff. So we've done it. It kind of is flexible and kind of depends on what all we're doing with the project. But I haven't really changed that because of what we're in now. I've always taken a deposit and then ordered materials with that. So
Gotcha.
So they'll be ready.
You wanted to say something there?
I was, I guess, just to chime in on it here. I know we've broken our jobs down into draw payments for quite a long time. And I know we're just front loading heavier on the front end just for material purchasing and stuff like that. Just to be more secure in our invoicing for materials. And again, like everybody, we're ordering stuff way earlier than we used to, and just to help keep that cash. So then, you order stuff way ahead of time and you're not doing that job for a long time, and that's still eating out of your cash flow because that bill still comes from the supplier at the end of the month. So yeah, we want to feed that way ahead of time so that it's just handled and taken care of. So for us, that's, we used to break jobs down depending on like we got a $60,000 project coming up, and we'll break it down into $10,000 payments, probably $10,000 payments, and we'll probably front load that job a little bit more based off the material cost right up front, and then a scheduling fee and all that, or the scheduling withdrawal, or the scheduling payment and stuff like that. And Mike, or Pennington too, I think it's interesting. I don't think I think it's a real baller status to not take deposits front the job. Like, I don't think that's unprofessional looking at all.
The bigger the project, the bigger the baller too.
I think it's
175, pay me later.
Yeah, that's just, I'm like, man, I think that, like, what to me, that would say, like, wow, you're a really stable business because you can front the whole freaking job forever and I could possibly screw you. Like, I think it really would, that would scream to me that it's an incredibly stable company. I don't think it's unprofessional at all. It's like, I think you could really make the argument the other way is like, this guy needs money like immediately, it's like, yeah, typical friggin' business, but man, this dude's a baller. He runs such a good business. His cash and everything's so good. So yeah, man, I would disagree with you, Pennington.
Yeah, I think I always did things one way, and I always feel like if you don't change things, that I've been doing it that way since, like, I don't know, 1999. I don't know, like a long time, and I just felt like we needed a change, and having my wife involved, I think sometimes keeps me grounded in reality that, these people, we shouldn't front all. And I also have a good friend, Chris Ray, that owns Humber Valley Landscaping. I don't know if anyone follows him, but and he has this whole theory that he's no longer financing other people's lifestyles.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, when he said that to me, I was like, man, that's some brilliant stuff there. Like, why am I fine? And I think that's one of the reasons we changed this year is, and what we used Chris was kind enough to send us his whole contract and his breakdown and stuff. And, we followed a lot of his stuff because he's right. Like, why am I financing all these people's lifestyles, just to flex that I can do it? I don't, like, I guess I don't, like Caleb said, like, is it a ball? Like, I don't know. It just made a lot of sense when he said it. He said that, stop financing the world's life. And I think too, like, I take that this year, I've taken that a lot more to heart, because there was lots of years where if someone did a subtle change to the gas or the electrical, maybe I would have said, whatever, it's $400, just do it and I'll just pay the guy. But this year, I'm like, okay, I'm not financing people's lives. I keep it in my mind all the time. I'm like, I'm not financing these people's electrical outlets or this extra gas connection, or why am I doing that? And I think in the past I had a bad habits of doing that kind of stuff, where I was just I didn't want to ruffle feathers. I wanted to get paid. I wanted to make sure we left on a good note with people, that they weren't like, oh, that guy came after me for $50 or something. But now we have been a bit more diligent with it, I guess you could say. All based off Chris's, I'm not financing the world.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Like, I think about that when, I usually say, these aren't my materials, these are my clients' materials. So it's important for me to have them paid for by them and not us paying for them. So we're typically ordering, and like we're doing, like, the fiberglass pool thing has been a huge change to my business on how we take payments, because we take a chunk up front to order, and then we have to take another chunk when it's delivered. And like, we're front loading that a lot, because a lot of that's already paid for when it shows up on the job site. So, and the customer understands. I think communication is the biggest thing. And we had electrical, I put in a budget for electrical on the project we're on now, and my electrician came in at twice of what I quoted it, based on the changes in material pricing and things we added as kind of we were going. So my customer picked up the other half. That's just the way, I had a conversation with them, let them know what was going on, gave them the decision to take away a few things or add on what they wanted, and they chose to add on and go ahead and make up the difference. So I think communication is a big key as you're going with job. Big jobs can be there's changes all the time, so got to be aware of that.
Yeah, that spins around the conversation a little bit to change orders then, because that's
right.
That's a thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I actually, that's a very big thing, is that we get it in writing and get it paid before we even start to work on it, on those change orders. Because I've had numerous, like, we're saying we're trying to keep it quick, but we can get into story time pretty good here on a bunch of these things where, had a bunch of change orders that resulted in $10,000 more in materials. I go, hey, it was 10 grand more stuff. Like, can I maybe get 20 for all the work putting all that in? And the guy laughed in my face, and I've got him in court now 4 or 5 years later. Another where they bring in their own gas guy because they rent a parking spot from him, and he puts in the wrong size gas line. So I say, okay, time and materials to rip up this patio that we've built to replace the gas line for you. Okay, no problem. Do all the work. And then the guy sits me down at the table and says, well, I don't feel that I did anything wrong, so why should I pay more money? Stuff like that, right? All those stories that you learn throughout the years. Change orders really important to get it in writing and get it paid before you even get going on it, because sometimes people don't feel like they should pay them at the end.
Yep. Right.
I won't work with anybody who I don't bring in. Like the client, if it's my project, it's my project. I'm not getting the homeowner gas guy or something like that, right? Like we're using my guys, or I don't want a part in it. There's just way too much work out there to be dealing with someone who you don't know or you don't trust, or building your job on top of someone else's gas line or something like that, and then having shit go wrong. Like,
oh yeah, 100%. Last time I ever had a subcontractor that wasn't mine on any of my job sites, I flat out refuse customers that try and do that now.
It's nice now, right? Because there's so much work out there that we can choose not to work with people who wouldn't necessarily work with. But I mean, may not always be like that, but still I'm going to try and only use my guys. And then I'm not opposed to working with other guys, but I got to be able to trust them, sort of, right?
And it's a timing issue. Like you're responsible to schedule everything and make sure that it doesn't delay the job and all that. So.
Yeah.
There's lots of customers want that too. They're like, look, I don't want to be calling up 5 different guys to get this set up. Like, I want the one person that's going to be able to come in and deal with all of it. And that sells a lot of jobs for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about in your contracts? What do you feel is one of the most important things that you've recently put in, or just in general, the most important thing that's really saved you in the past by putting it in?
Expiration dates, especially back when we were in maintenance, it was worse. You quote a property in the spring, and then they didn't touch it till summer, and it's got weeds, 5 feet tall and all that craziness. So expiration dates, but even still, that helps cover you against the material, price increase issues too. So that's something we've incorporated that for a little while, but I learned my lesson a couple times. Well, it took me a couple times to learn my lesson, let me put it that way. But yeah, definitely expirations been big for us.
What's your expiration, Caleb? Is that like a month out or what?
It varies on like maintenance stuff or spring cleanup crap like that. That's barely 30 days. Sometimes it's less than that if I can just kind of figure how the property is. If I know how the property is already, if it's been poorly maintained or barely maintained, or we're working on getting it back in shape. Hardscape stuff, things like that used to be 3-4 months. Now it's getting down way shorter than that, 30 days, 15 days, just kind of however I feel on it, that kind of deal.
15 minutes, sign it now or else.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think if it's anything lumber related, if it's anything lumber related,
up like Inspector Gadget,
Yeah, Scheller, lumber related for sure, right?
Yes. Ooh. Yeah, we're fighting that now because we actually build a few decks. Sorry, Paver King, but it helps pay our bills down here. So all these elevated surfaces. But we've had that's been a big challenge. And I was actually talking to I'm working with a new accounting firm thanks to the Auman Molder webinar. I don't know, this past winter. And she's helping me with bookkeeping and job costing. And we were talking about, I'm booking 3 to 4 to 5 months out, depending on, or the project is going to go next spring. And I'm, how do I even guess, So we're trying to figure out how we put in a contract, like maybe if price increases over a certain percent. So instead of bidding it and then going to start the job and being like, we have to bid this all over again, say, have like a clause for a 10% price increase or 10% decrease or 15, whatever it is, and try to build and try to build in the inflation of the materials into the contract. And then have some, it's kind of it's a gray area of how you handle all that stuff, but I'm not a big fan of giving somebody a price and then completely changing it right before you start. So I think, again, communication, but also keeping, and maybe it's something you go along the way and say, hey, we're up 15% on lumber since we quoted it. This is what it's going to look like now. This is what it could look like, when we start. So I think communication has to be like, we're getting price increases on pools and pool equipment mid-season, like effective immediately. Like if you haven't ordered it, prices just went up 6%, and it's just like, okay, well, I have some estimates out there that are expired now, so we'll have to raise the prices on them. So I mean, it's just the way it is right now. It's kind of an unprecedented time.
Are you able to get fiberglass pools right now? My manufacturers, the 2 of them that I use ran out. We only got 3 for the whole season.
So I have 3 sold. 1 is ready. We're just waiting on a survey for a permit. But I just got had a conversation with them Monday that one I had scheduled for early June. They have no date for me now because they don't have resin.
Yeah, that's the Texas.
So I have 2 scheduled, and I don't have dates for them right now. So it's pretty awesome. So now I'm trying to backload some work that I had. Now I have to fill a schedule. It's kind of weird, but we'll be fine.
We have a project where we're going to be building all of the patio, the fire pit, the pergola, the outdoor kitchen, and then coming in the other side of the house to build the pool next spring. It kind of messed around. Sure.
Yeah, I'm telling folks, if they want a pool, we got to order now. Like there's no waiting around.
I'm telling people, if you want a pool in 2022, you have to order it.
Right. Exactly. So we're like 4 months out on pools right now, and that was before Monday. So
anything in your contracts that you've been burned on in the past, so you put them into the contract, or you've heard of another person getting burned on it and then put it into your contract right away? Any stories like that?
I don't do plants, but I had a situation in the past where the customer signed off on the plants that we designed. We put the plants in, and then he approved looked at them, said they look good. And then the next day we come back. Of course, they looked at it that night, and we're like, we don't like any of these. We've just ordered new plants, and we're bringing in our own. And I'm like, well, and they didn't want to pay me. They wanted me to change everything. They didn't, I was like, I'm not going to warranty any. That was one situation where the customer had been very difficult. And at that stage, I just said, I've had enough. You can keep the money you owe me. It wasn't very much, luckily, but it was big enough for me that it was a pain. But so I won't plant anybody's plants. I don't warranty any transplants. It's typical things like that, of course, but like I'm almost to the point I don't even want to warranty plants because I don't do that many of them. So it's usually as part of a whole design that we would install plants, but mostly we stick to the construction. And then be very clear on the warranty for your work, and that part of it's a manufacturer warranty and part of it's a labor warranty, as far as pavers and things like that go. And I'm learning that I can't warranty lumber. I don't know why. I never really thought about it until I started doing a lot of lumber materials, but you get people don't like a crack or something. That's a natural. There's not really something you can do about it. So we're going to start working some of that into our contract. So
definitely.
So actually the plant section of my pretty comprehensive section of the warranty, the plant section is the most wordy to absolutely cover your ass on all that stuff. It's worded to be what me and my buddy that put it together call an in-season plant warranty. So like essentially you've got till like October on a warranty, like winter, like it was the frost. I don't know, it's because like we just have no control over those plants. Obviously all of our hardscape installations we stand behind quite a bit, but the plant are another story. And also on that, like whenever you're doing your estimating with plants, like really make sure that you're adding like 20-30% warranty on every single plant. Like there's probably a 20-30% chance you could replace that one day, so that's a totally fair number to throw in there. And then with the wood that you mentioned too, that's where there's another clause that I have in my contract, the material tolerances clause, which goes on a bunch of manufacturer information. But the wood portion of it, I have my contract in front of me here. The wood portion says can't guarantee pressure treated won't warp, check or cup. Cedar is expected to crack, especially 6x6, up to a 3/8 inch gap, the entire length of the wood. It's such a little bit more stuff, but it kind of goes into a few scenarios of like it has to be pretty bad before it actually enacts the warranty.
Yikes.
Cool. That's great.
I have a lot of clauses for sod. It says We water it once. And then we pass the responsibility on to the homeowner.
Yeah.
We like seed has no warranty. Like, like
It's a perishable.
if there's, say we have like some skids on someone's front lawn for a week and then we lift them off and there's the runners from the skids and we rake it out hard and we throw seed and soil on it to clean it up. And then people are like, hey, the seed didn't grow. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
That was a big thing.
And sod's the worst because people just don't they don't water it, then it dies, then they call you, and then you go back. And then they don't water it, and then it dies. Then they went to the cottage, and then they want you to come and water it on Saturday. Oh, can you send one of your guys here? No, I can't. I'm not.
These sounds like these people need to buy an irrigation system from you.
Like 8 rolls of salt. Yeah, like I don't have any. So I mean, that's one of the things that we have. I have like in my items of note, I guess, on our contract is sod. I mean, we have one municipality where I'm from that's like brutal to work for. They have like Google Earth, and they're Google Earthing every house once a day to check for any changes, and they send roving bylaw people driving. So like it says like in our contracts, if you live in Ajax and we incur any problem from the government, that you'll be charged for any time we spend with the government. Sorry, you live in Ajax. You chose to live there. Like I can't control. Like we used to get like it's illegal technically in that city. It's illegal to have our truck and trailer parked on the road.
Wow.
You have your truck and trailer parked on the road, then they'll write you a fine. Just for it being there. It doesn't no gravel, nothing, just for it being there. Right? Then when you work in there, you have to unload everything out of a trailer. You can't dump anything on a municipal road. It's brutal. Like it's just anyway. I try to avoid working there.
Any other contract mentions of note? Things that you know will save you maybe one day, but if it saves you, it's going to be something big. Any clauses? One comes to mind, like an underground obstruction clause. Anything else that you guys are hoping will never have to come up, but you're glad that are in your contract?
Definitely like for digging like rock and stuff like that. Sure. Sorry,
I'm reviewing the contract. I tell those people, if we dig up a dead body in your yard, that's kind of, we're going to be looking at you, not us on that one. And if we're slowed down, it might cost you. So now's the time to tell me, right? Yeah.
I have one for scratches on the driveway.
Yeah.
Driveway. Because even if you put plywood down and a rock gets under it, and people are like, oh, my driveway's scratched. And I'm like, okay, like it's unreasonable to think that, like if we dumped a load of stone on the driveway and then scraped it up with the skid steer, even the mighty S70, like we were responsible about it. That's one thing, but it's a total another thing. If I just said, have an expectation of driveway to potentially be scratched. It's in the contract. It's an item. So it's same as like if someone's driveway's like falling apart, like it's like a 30-year-old asphalt driveway and they're like, just go across it to get in the backyard. I'm like, okay, well, like there's going to be nothing left of this. So we have a whole driveway thing that's like, it's not our problem. So
I've gotten into the idea of taking pictures too of any like walkways, everything beforehand. That actually came up already this year. So
yeah, I have my guys submitting that into their LMN setups every day, their timesheets. So we have great records of all kinds of photos of everything going on jobs. Like what the neighbor's driveway has a little crack and we're working near it. Like take a picture of that, stuff like that for sure.
Yeah.
Mike, have you ever had any pushback on those scratches on the driveway that haven't been in the contract?
Oh, everything's there for a reason, bro.
But has any client pushed back about that when they're about to sign?
Oh, you mean someone pushing back? No, everyone just signs it. Like they don't care. They think everyone thinks everything's going to be fine and hopes for the best. So, like it's a whole bunch of half full glass people hanging out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's ever given me any, on that item or even the sod. No one's ever given me any pushback. No one's ever given me a hard time about it. So, those are two things that the dead plants and stuff, like I don't think I have any warranty on plants, and it's like such a pain in the ass. And people don't water them or take care of them. I think in ours it says if you do not have an irrigation system, there will be no warranty on plants. I think that's
Yeah.
what it actually says on the thing, something about irrigation, because if someone takes the time to irrigate it and sets the irrigation, although then they set it way too high and drown them, but still, like, that's one item we have too, is about irrigation systems. And if you have an irrigation system, and I don't have any warranty for lighting and stuff because we sub it out. So, like, because I don't know enough about it and I don't want to get involved in it. And so and that way someone's not calling me for, like, now the lighting guy actually just deals directly with our clients. I just say call him, because if one of his lights burns out, then don't call me about some light that I marked up 10%. It's $400. Like, so you're like calling me for $40 that I might have made somewhere. I'm like, I'm good. I don't even want the phone to ring for that. So, most of the lighting packages are like 10 lights for $400 a light. So for $4,000, like, I'm marking it up 10, 20 points, even for $800. I don't want that phone call. It's not worth it to me. It's not, because it just, like, if someone does call me about it, it costs way more money than I ever made on it.
We have a thing, if we're crossing over existing utility trenches that have been, especially for hardscape work. So if we're crossing over utility trenches that have been dug in the past, 12 months or whatever, and it's a case by case basis, but we won't warranty hardscape work over top of, disturbed earth that's deeper than we can, rectify or reasonably rectify, let's say. So we've got a case by case thing with that. And the same with building up against foundations on new builds and stuff like that. So we'll always put that in our
Caleb, do you have any policies for when you overlay concrete straight on concrete with paver?
Oh boy, yeah. Somebody had to kick that beehive, huh?
That wasn't an open graded base, I could tell.
Yeah, really. My God. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But
just in case there was a warranty there.
Yeah, really, right? Oh my Lord. The other thing I was going to mention, like Mike, or I think Mike was saying about plants too on that end, is like we stopped planting work in June 1st, I think, unless we install a drip irrigation system with it. So our warranty cuts off on plant material. And even then like trees and shrubs, we have we added it into our element contract, but it's our plant warranty is 50% of the installed cost per shrub or per tree. So that way clients got skin in the game if they lose a whole row of stuff. No, we'll communicate with people first, right? Like we'll be like, if it's just a shrub or two, just out of customer service and congeniality, we're just going to replace it and not say anything about it. If it's like a whole row of stuff, we know what's going on. We know what the issue is, right? It's just lack of care. And then we're gonna back bill for that kind of stuff usually. So that's one of the things we've started implementing too in the contract for the past couple of years. So
well, any other things that you guys want to cover in terms of contracts, in terms of anything that you'd want, say somebody just getting into this game who maybe hasn't even considered a contract, any things just to get somebody started in terms of these are the different components in my contract. What does that look like for you?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chad. Sorry.
Okay, so I think it's important for me.
Gentleman speaks.
Your contract is sort of like the last resort, right? Like you do everything to try and talk to the client first, like talk it through and everything. Like the contract is like just there at the very end. If you just can't make it work, if you just can't see eye to eye with someone, then you bust out the contract. But I mean, as far as customer service goes, like we're doing everything we can to not have to say, hey, look at the contract, remember about the contract, right? And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a good point. When it comes to that, you don't want to be the first thing, like, you don't want to be pointing the contract first thing, right? That's not how to win friends and influence people, right? So that's a really good point. Is like, you want to try to talk everything out. I really like that point. Thank you for bringing that.
Yeah.
Communication, like with a marriage or with anything, right? Like you got to talk it out. Like even at the end of every day with my clients, I'll go through the job with them. Are you happy with this so far? Did you expect this? Any questions, concerns? Like I need to know that at the end of my hardscape day or my softscape day to continue, so that at the end of the job, there's no, well, look at the contract. Right.
Yeah.
Something else.
And full disclosure, I'm still working on mine. So I live in a good old boy area, and I've always done, kind of jobs where I was comfortable not having a contract and just a handshake and all that. And
Yeah.
the larger the projects get and the more involved they get and the more we're digging and the more we're trying to warranty and service and all that, it just starts to get a little bit out of the scope that I want to have to hold the bag for. So I'm working on trying to get one that makes sense and that's going to hold up as well, so that everybody's covered, not just me, but also my customer, and make sure they get everything they have paid for. So I think it's important to look at it both ways. It's not just for you, it's for both parties to be
I agree with that
in a good
100%.
position when the project is over.
Yeah, it's definitely like you're making sure that it's fair for both parties. That's the whole point. And especially too, like if you have a contract that's heavily weighted in your favor, a judge will look at it and just laugh at it. If there was ever something to come, it has to be a fair contract. So it's definitely there. Like everything, as much as we're talking about how do we cover our ass, there's a lot of clauses in the contract that cover the homeowner's ass as well, right?
Absolutely.
That's a good point. I know one thing too, I was going to mention, you're talking about the new guys, especially like, if nothing else, just to keep you out of contract issues too, make sure, private utilities and things that aren't going to be marked by public utilities, dog fence, irrigation lines, private electric out to a back shed and stuff like that. Like we've got it in our contract. If they can't tell us exactly where it is, we're not, I mean, to the inch, where it's at, like we're going to do our darndest not to hit it. There will be a change order if we hit it. But like Chad said so well, like that's all communication up front. That's the most important thing there. So
I'm getting utility locates and the utility companies aren't locating fiber, which is like the one you don't want to hit. I don't know if anybody else sees that or not.
Oh yeah, that's going on
in our area. It's like
an absolute nightmare.
You got to locate your own. Like all you have to do is part the grass and it's there. They don't even bury the stuff here.
Yeah.
No, it's it's like 2 inches deep, maybe.
Yeah. And if you hit it, you're on the hook for thousands and thousands of dollars, but they won't show you where it is. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
We just take it from the house and we just dig, so parallel to it, and just out of the excavation area and expose it. So
you pull hard enough, it'll come right out. Like,
that's true too. And especially people working from home, it's like the last thing you want to do is cut their internet. So
they come out right away too, right? Like
within
it's a matter of a minute. Did somebody break the internet?
Before you do
internet?
Yeah.
All right. So the final question I want to ask you guys is warranties for hardscape work. What are your guys' warranties? Because on the podcast, I've interviewed everyone from 3 years to lifetime. So what are your guys' hardscape warranties? Whoever wants to start us off here.
We do 2 years, but then if someone doesn't move and they call me, we would always go back and fix it for them if it's settlement. I mean, if it's like a sand thing where they've got their downspout running endlessly and it's 4 years later, I'm like, oh, sorry, like no. But I used to just tell people call me, and then I was like, we should probably cap that. And this is all like me becoming a more responsible person, I guess. But I said we should probably cap it or something. So we capped it at 2, and then but I'm like, listen, if you have a problem and you're still living in this house, give us a call. We'll come back and we'll make good on it. And then the other thing I do with warranties is if someone calls us, we go the next day. I shut down everything. I don't care what it is. Someone calls me, like we did a project last fall. Homeowner called me, they had a couple small issues. We were there the next day. Wow. I shut down something. I said, go there and fix it. I don't want it dragged out. I don't want them calling me 100 times. I developed that like maybe 10 years ago, and because I just got tired. Because someone calls you, you're like, yeah, I'll do something about it. You forget, and the next call is more angry, and the next call is more angry. So I just, the way that we build things, I feel like we don't have that many calls anyways. And if we have to take people from a site that we're working on to go and fix something, the homeowners we're working for, I'm like, you wouldn't want us to do that for you.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
We're doing that for someone else, and we're going to do it for you if you have a problem. And then everyone's always like, oh, okay, I just call and be like, we have to go fix this for these homeowners. They're just as important as you are, just because they're past clients, and we're going to treat you the same. But yeah, we have 2 years. That's our sort of standard thing in it.
Anyone else? Hardscape warranty?
Yeah, mine is we have 3 years for surfaces typically bearing vehicular weight, 5 years not typically bearing vehicular weight. The reason that I give for that is that within that 3 and 5 year period time frame, you will see noticeable signs of any future heaving, shifting, or rutting in those surfaces. If they're gonna fail, you'll see signs of it within that period of time, basically. So once it passes that mark, it's like, you'll probably forgot who built it in the first place, and you'll never need to call me anyways because it's not going anywhere. So that's kind of where we end it there. Is like, look, we've it passed the test basically. We go into quite a bit of depth with all the like plant material, like nothing on sod whatsoever, et cetera. But yeah, those years. One thing too with it is that it like with the warranty, we have a sort of similar to Mike where he shuts down everything the next day. We have 30 days to respond to any warranty calls. So it does give them peace of mind that you'll be there, within a month at least. It's we're a little bit tougher to shut down for the day just like that. But it's, we'll get there ASAP because it is very important. Like that back end customer service almost counts just as much, if not more, as that front end customer service, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Craig, what about you? Your Hardscape warranty?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. It's like 3 years, but I don't know that anybody's ever called it. I haven't gone back and at least checked it out. And if it's manufacturer, I worked with the manufacturer on it. So it just kind of depends on what it is. But if it's our problem, we're definitely going to take care of it. And there is a 3 year, but it's not really like set in, like I don't set that in stone. Like I stand behind my work. So it shouldn't be failing in 4 years, so.
Right.
So
I do want to note on the end of mine, like I've gone back and fixed stuff 6 years later, even though it was well out of warranty too. Like we have that. Depends how you treated me through the project. If we go beyond it, sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
I was out, my from my podcast, that some of you may know that I was out of installing for like 5 years and went into distribution and manufacturer sales and came back last August. And I had a previous customer call me that I had done 5 or 6 years ago. And she said, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody to fix your something on the patio." Her husband had been power washing and it was along the pool and there was a concrete up against the pool. He'd been power washing the patio and it completely blew out all the sand and now it was settling, so she was asking what the color was so she could have, there was a couple that had broken, which would be a manufacturer issue. And it wasn't a paver that was, even being made anymore. So I told her I had a solution for it. And I said, you know what, I'll just come take care of it. And we've turned that into a clean and seal job. So we're going to go back and and I'm going to charge her to resand because that's typical maintenance. And then we're going to clean and seal it. So, there's ways you can kind of turn that back into something as well. But stand behind your work and not have somebody else come in there and goof around with it. So
definitely,
that's kind of how I feel about it.
Chad, over to you.
Yeah. 3 years is, that's what's the writing, right? What's in writing. But after that, I honestly can't say I've gotten a call that I haven't gone back to if something's gone wrong. As long as no problem getting together with these people, having a look at it, we'll do the repairs, no problem. As long as the thing that drives me nuts, can you look at this plant that you planted whenever you did the job? While you're here, can you replace that? And they want that for free. So not only am I doing the repair for no cost, but they want a $30 hydrangea in the mix too, and that sort of drives me. I think that's unfair of them to ask, a couple years later. But for the most part, no, I stand behind everything. Like Matt said, 6 years later, if there's an issue, I'm still going to go back and take care of it, and it's just write it out of the advertising budget, I guess, because that goes a long way.
That's true. Good one. And over to you, Caleb. Hardscape warranty.
That was actually an awesome point that I picked up from Pennington talking about your warranty work you pull out of your advertising budget. I thought that was so smart because what that is, you're right. That's exactly like a good warranty policy, and going back and actually fulfilling that is like just marketing dollars right at work there. And I like the 30-day thing. I'm gonna implement that. I think we have 30 days to address a warranty issue. I like that a bunch. So I'm learning. Heck, I'm learning stuff here too.
I'm learning too. It's a good night.
Yeah, really, right. It's worth sitting in on for sure. But then as far as we actually don't have, and I've gone back and forth on this, we actually don't have a time frame listed for warranty work. We actually don't say anything about warranty in our policy. And people ask us about it, and I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, just call me, we'll take care of it. And I've left it at that. But I think I've been thinking about this for 8 or 10 months now. Of like, I think we are going to put a time frame on it of 12 months or 24 or whatever, just so something is there. I guess just should we need to exercise that, Lord willing, we never have to. But I think where we're going to start going with that is like a 12 or 24 month warranty of some type. So we don't have anything in there right now. Then we just stand by it. We take care of stuff, and sometimes we let some warranty issues go longer. It depends on how cool if the client's too cool, that warranty issue gets pushed farther down the road than it should. We still take care of it. But if the client's more of a squeaky wheel, we definitely resolve it faster. But I really like was it Mike and Matt or Chad? I can't remember, but both you guys, this 30-day thing, and I like that policy, so we're going to implement that. That's cool.
It's like you almost want to say, like, put your warranty at like, is 2 years long enough to make me look good enough, but take me off the liability, but not too long that if they were a real pain in my ass, I don't have to go. Like it, you got to put a number on it to make yourself look reputable and look good, but you can't put too long. So what's the magic number? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? Is it what? Not that any of us aren't going to take care of it after the fact, but it still needs the number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people in our area give a year.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I see the prices that people charge in your area too, though. It makes sense. And all these Facebook ads, $10 a square foot. Like, geez, the brick is $9. Like, where is the rest?
Every one of those ads was paid for by me. No. But everyone was like a year, so I was like, wow, I'll do 2 years. It was like literally, like Chad was saying, it was like a random number. I was like, this makes me look fine. I don't know. Like, so I just picked 2 because it was longer than 1 year seems even like I would rather do what Caleb's doing, like, and say I have, I'll take care of it. I've been in the business 20 years, than say I'm doing it for a year, because a year seems like really shady. I'm doing this July 12th. You call me July 13th next year, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm done. I felt like 2 years made me seem less, I don't know, like shifty or something. Whatever.
You're just running faster than the guy beside you, not faster than the bear.
I don't run faster than anyone, bro. I don't know if you've ever seen me. I've never run faster than anyone in my life.
Well, guys, thank you for your time. This was awesome. I did miss the introduction of each of you at the very beginning. That's going to be released on the podcast. I'll record that afterwards so that it is there, so everyone knows right off the bat who's on the call, where to go to check you out. But for now, closing remarks, anything you want to leave people with, and where they can find you online, wherever you want to send them to, however you want to wrap this up. Let's start with Matt at Hardscape Ottawa.
Yeah, best place to find me, at Hardscape Ottawa. Closing thoughts, just really, like, whatever you do, make sure there's some sort of contract. It's that's probably the best thing here. And really, make sure that you cover as many bases, and always be changing it too, right? Like, there's probably going to be a couple things that might be worded a little bit differently or added in after a conversation here tonight in mine. And that this is a contract that I've worked and pieced together for the last 7 years, right? So, it's definitely always be putting in clauses that, cover your ass, but also make sure that it covers your client's ass too. Otherwise, they're not going to sign that thing, right? So, yeah.
Definitely. Good points. And Mike over at Paver King.
You can find me at Paver King on anywhere. I'm big on MySpace, so try to focus. But for me, I would say, like, I spend the majority of my existence in this business having no contract, and doing handshakes and being, it's going to be fine. And I never got badly burned doing that. But I think that certainly in the crush of today's market for hardscapers, that I think that everyone should be protecting themselves, because I think that there's going to inevitably be a lot of people out there that are disappointed with the people that they hire and disappointed with how things turn out. And, you need to have that contract just so that you're protecting yourself, because some of those things can be out of your control, like the wood or the price of pavers, or like if everyone thinks that the paver manufacturers aren't watching the lumber and that watching how it's skyrocketing up, you're freaking crazy. I worked for a paver manufacturer for 18 months. I'm going to tell you right now, they're all looking at that lumber skyrocketing up, and they're like, how do we get a piece of that action? Every single one of them. So I just think that there's potential in the market. Everyone should be protecting themselves. I think that, you also I think it makes you seem more reputable too. And it's a great sales tool for someone who's just starting out and they're new, to have something to be able to show people and something to talk about and stimulate conversation when you're a new person and you're trying to get a premium dollar.
Great points. And over to Craig at Scheller Outdoor Living.
Thanks for having me, because I learned a ton tonight, and I appreciate being a part of this group. I think it's a fantastic group of professionals, and I feel pretty privileged to be a part of it. So thank you. And I on contracts, I'm noticing almost like people are expecting one at this point. So I think I need to get my stuff together there. And if you guys want to look me up, I'm at Scheller Outdoor Living on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So that's where you can find me.
And on over to Chad at Natural Design Landscapes.
That's it. You said it for me. Natural Design Landscapes, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you go.
Lurking in the shadows.
I'm probably the least informative guy on this whole podcast, but that's okay. Like, I'm mostly a commercial landscaper at this point anyway, and my contract is sort of written for me, right? I got to do what the GC says and what we bid on. If you're a commercial landscaper, make sure to read your contracts and read all your plans and everything, because you can get burned pretty heavy that way if you don't. Make sure you're hitting all your specs. And from the residential end of things, communication, definitely important. One of the most important things for me, because again, like Mike, I've never had a contract before last year. It's all things that we could talk through, and I'm still alive. As far as I know, we're still making money. So like I say, communication, and if you're the commercial guy, read up on what's required of you before you bid.
And closing us out, Caleb at Auman LLC.
Hey everybody, thanks again, Mike, for having me on. Appreciate it, man. A few things I would say for closing stuff would be, like, if you had a contract for a few years, and every few years I'd recommend you have an attorney in your state look over your contract once in a while, just to kind of proof it and make sure it's up to speed. And somebody was saying about their deposit or their draw schedules and stuff may not be applicable in that area or what they're doing. And California in the United States has some crazy rules as far as deposits and stuff like that. So if you buy contracts somewhere, make sure that it's applicable in your state. I'd really recommend that. And I know just over years of contracting, like, you can't hardly have too many details in there, but not so much that it hangs you on a fine thread too. So, like, generally, like when we're labeling out square footage and stuff like that, we use plus, 180 square feet plus or minus 100 square feet approximately, just things like that. Cause I had a court battle one year, 10 years ago on a project, and it was nitty gritty stuff like that I learned some lessons on, because they'll hang you if you say one number, man. That's in residential. Commercial may be different, but and then also just trying to make sure you have a plan that correlates with that contract, and make sure it's dated appropriately so the two interplay well. And those are kind of the big things I've learned over the years, and mainly through that one horrible project we had 10 years ago. I had to sue people to get paid, and it was awful. And I learned a lot of lessons with contract verbiage and stuff in that situation. But that's kind of my last thoughts there. So thanks.
Actually, sorry to jump in there just before we close out, but one thing I forgot that I had added into what we're doing, and especially as we've moved into using Auman, is that I have written right into it, is that the estimated quantities of the pavers our like expected wastage, expected like carrying enough so that we don't get slowed down on the job. If there's pavers left over, like that doesn't mean that it's cheaper for you. I just ordered that many, even it doesn't matter what it says on the contract. I just wanted to make sure I had enough, sort of thing. And that I added that in this season, especially with the way that LMN works, in that you put the estimate together and then it carries over and you're showing your employees that, and it's like, look, you're gonna have this much material show up, etc. I added that in. I noticed at the start when I first started using it, like without that, the client's gonna see, oh geez, you know, he thinks he needs 300 square feet, but it's actually a 260 square foot patio that has a lot of cuts, right? So it's I added that in, that like they don't really know how many square feet they're getting basically by the end of it, but it's we're building the design, and you know, adaptations can happen is some of the wording in that as well. Yeah, very important.
Definitely. Thank you so much, guys. I do appreciate your time. We're 9 o'clock right on. So thank you, everyone. Go check these guys out online where they told you to go find them at, and show them some love. Thank them for coming on the show. And we look forward to